Hi everyone, welcome to today's video. So on today's video, we are going to have a discussion around LIC's IPO. It's a mega IPO. It is one of the biggest IPOs in India. It is one of the biggest IPOs in the world, and it is generating a lot of interest from all the parties involved. So we will do an analysis as to why this IPO is being launched and some salient points about LIC. Second, what is the moat of the business? Is it a good business to own versus not? Third and finally, I'm going to discuss the risks associated with this IPO, some valuations around it, and whether or not you should consider investing in this. So let's get the analysis started, and a very quick shout out to our sponsors for today, which is Cuckoo FM. I'm currently listening to a book called as Built to Last. It's a wonderful book about how big companies are created, how they create their own moat, how they create competitive advantages. So do check it out. I'll put the links in the description box. I will also link some of the other books that I'm listening to Cuckoo FM. Also, there is a very special offer, so you can go and check it out in the description box. So let's start our analysis, and first and foremost, let us understand some of the salient points around the LIC IPO. So who owns LIC? This is taken from Wikipedia, and you can clearly see that Ministry of Finance currently owns LIC. Now, why has it been decided by the government as to why is now a great time to launch this IPO? I do not work at Ministry of Finance, but Ayushi has worked as Assistant Director at Ministry of Finance, and I will let her explain this segment.
Hi, I'm Ayushi. I'm here at a personal level to discuss the theory behind disinvestment and the strategic disinvestment plan of the Government of India. First, let us try and understand what is disinvestment. Disinvestment means the sale or liquidation of any government-owned asset. For example, the sale of equities or sale of shares in any public sector enterprise which is owned by the government would constitute as disinvestment. This could be either partial, wherein only a certain percentage of the equity is being sold to the private sector, or it could be complete privatization, wherein the entire public sector enterprise is sold off to the private sector. This is what disinvestment is. But what are the reasons why governments embark on disinvestment? There could be many reasons. Let me try and cover a few of those reasons here. The first could be to manage fiscal burden or fiscal debt. If the government is facing huge amount of debt, or if its expenditure is much higher, or if it's not able to meet its revenue target, then the government may decide to disinvest certain of its assets in order to manage that fiscal debt deficit. The second could be to finance expenditure in certain sectors, for example, the social sectors such as health or education or infrastructure development. This could be the second reason why government embarks on disinvestment. The third could be to encourage more privatization and competition in the open market. This also means that selling off of shares of PSUs in the open market encourages the development of capital markets within the country. These are the primary reasons why any government embarks on disinvestment. Last year, the Finance Minister of India, while presenting the budget, had announced that the government has approved a new scheme for strategic disinvestment of certain public sector enterprises. The present LIC IPO is a part of that scheme. The disinvestment plan and modalities are decided by Ministry of Finance. There is a special department called as Department of Investment and Public Asset Management, or DIPAM in short, which decides on all these modalities.
So with this information at hand, it is also important to understand the context of LIC as to why it was launched in the first place. So very quick history around it. I'll not take a lot of time here. So here is an important paragraph that you can see that LIC was created by an act of parliament. Now the important point to note is that till the year 1999, LIC had a complete monopoly over the Indian life insurance business until the entry of private players, and ever since the market share has somewhat dropped for LIC in percentage terms, but the overall numbers for LIC has gone up. Currently, as the situation stands, you can check it here and I will read it with you, that LIC has the largest share in the life insurance market. Roughly 68% of the life insurance market is controlled by LIC. This is still a very, very big number, and this is precisely the reason why, given the size of the company, there is so much buzz around the entire IPO. Now, there is another way to look at LIC, and we can compare it globally, that What type of brand value does it command? How big is LIC compared to other healthcare providers? So globally speaking, LIC has been declared one of the top 10 insurance brands in the world. This is in fact a thing to be proud of, that LIC is one of the top 10 insurance brands in the world. Now this is a very, very big feat, and here is a list of other companies that feature in this list. Now a very quick overview of the business model of LIC, what it typically does, how it makes money and profit. Let us do a very quick analysis there. Then I will speak about the specific advantages in detail that LIC enjoys. So here is a chart for you, and this is a wonderfully captured chart. It simply tells you that what type of products LIC has launched. So it has term insurance, it has life insurance. So term insurance in simple word means life insurance, that in case some casualty happens and if the insurance holder has an LIC policy, then his or her family will end up getting that money in case in the unfortunate circumstance the person passes away. There is health insurance also, and very interestingly they also sell savings instrument, and there is something called as ULIPs. You might have heard of it. So that's a saving instrument, and people invest in LIC via that scheme also. On top of this, LIC also goes and buys publicly listed share. For example, you will be surprised to know that LIC made a loss of 7,000 crore because LIC invested in ITC, and ITC unfortunately does not move. I'm just kidding. I'm not speaking about whether ITC is a good stock or bad stock. I simply want to highlight the fact that LIC also makes money in terms of making investments in the stock market. But the news around LIC making 7,000 crore loss is real. It is very, very real. Now, let us very quickly try to understand the three specific advantages this business enjoys, and whether or not this is a good business, this is a monopoly that will sustain. We are going to have a little bit of discussion around that, because if you understand this part really well, you will be able to invest in this business with confidence. So the first specific moat about the business is its brand value. Now brand value is something that people pay a lot of money to generate. You buy Apple laptops because of what? Because of the brand that the company has. Why do you buy HUL products or Nestle products? Because of the brand that the company has. Similarly, in India, life insurance is equal to LIC. This is the perspective that people from our parents' generation have. If you don't trust me, go and ask your mother and father and tell me in the comment box. Just ask them one simple question, that where can we buy life insurance in India? Their first answer will be LIC. That is the value of brand, and this brand association is not going to go away for a substantial period of time. A large majority of the people in India will continue to think forever probably that if you have to buy life insurance, the only option that you have is LIC. Now this point to some extent has been captured by another study that was done that listed LIC is one of the top 4 valuable brands in the world, and here is the entire list. You can go check it out. Another way you can understand this point is by looking at how much LIC's business got hit during COVID. Because during the COVID period, what happened was that there were a lot of people who were claiming insurance, and all the life insurance, health insurance companies, they took a hit on their financials. So here is a very interesting chart for you, and what you will see is this orange bar. Not the ice cream, but orange bar on the screen. It simply indicates the financials of LIC. The red bar indicates the combined aggregated financials of all private players. So what you will see is that between May 19 and May 20, so May 19, you can see LIC's business in 2019 grew by 47%. What about private players? So private players, their business grew by 35% from 2018 to 2019. What about 2020? Everything shrunk. So LIC's business fell by 24%. And private players' business fell by 28%. So from that angle, if you have to speak about resilience, that hey, are private insurance company more resilient, or something like LIC is more resilient? LIC is much more resilient compared to private players. So to cut the long story short, when we speak about LIC, there is a lot of trust. Why? Probably because it's a very old brand. It's government owned, operated. There is a lot of resilience that can be seen, owned and operated. So essentially what it helps you do is that during downturns in the insurance sector, firms like LIC are going to have a higher chances of survival, as seen during COVID crisis. Now, let me also speak very briefly about the nature of the product. Now, the nature of the health insurance, life insurance industry is such that it is very hard to acquire customer. But once you acquire a customer, it is very unlikely that they are going to leave. Now tell me in the comment box that once you have purchased your health insurance or life insurance, did you switch? There would be very few people who would have switched once they purchased their health insurance or life insurance. So essentially, two very important points. One is that customer acquisition is really tough in this business. And second key point is that switching cost is very, very high for this business. Which brings us to the second key thing that I wanted to discuss, which is around the moat of the business, that what gives LIC advantage in addition to its brand. That comes down to having very big operational network, an army of employees and agents who sell LIC policies. So this is a very, very important thing. So let me show you some data around it. Take a look at this snippet and read it with me. So here, insurance needs strong marketing and sales team to succeed, implying significant distribution cost in form of commissions. Therefore, the distribution mix or the channels for selling insurance product is equally important and plays a decisive role in growth. Private companies typically use banks, which act as corporate agents and sell insurance products to their customers. LIC, on the other hand, depends on the army of individual agents spread across the country to sell its policies. What is happening, and this is a very, very big differentiation between LIC and private players who are trying to sell insurance. Private players are selling their insurance through banks. For example, HDFC life insurance might most likely be sold through HDFC bank branches. On the flip side, LIC itself has built a machinery to sell its policies through a series of agents. Now, this can be seen in the operational overview. Now, here is the mammoth scale of this company. Today, LIC functions with 2048 fully computerized branch office. And there are thousands and thousands of people who are working with LIC. LIC has in fact 22 departments and LIC is categorized into 8 zonal offices. So again, zoom it out and read it. You will understand the operational scale of LIC. Now, why is this such a massive moat for a company like LIC? The reason is fairly simple, and it comes down to the theory of in-housing certain critical functions of a business. Now, this is something that you will learn at a business school. So let me simplify this. What it simply says is that if you run a business and if the most critical part of a business is, let's say, sales or marketing or product development, then a company should control it. Why? Because if they are controlling it, then they can tweak a lot of processes. Think about it this way, that if Apple outsources its manufacturing completely to some other company, then you know what, at HP, you go and manufacture our laptops. That's a problem because the major moat of Apple is product design. Now, if HP gets control of the product design specs of Apple, then there can be a lot of issues. Sometimes they'll say that, you know what, we are not able to manufacture it at the rate that you require, and bunch of other different problems. So with this logic, if we study the life insurance space, what is the most critical part of selling LIC policies? It is the distribution, right? Distribution. So distribution simply means that here, when it comes to LIC, they have their own offices, branches. If I want to buy health insurance, I can literally walk into an LIC branch and buy it. Now that gives me solace. So word of the day today is solace. So let me know what that means. So I can go and buy this insurance with confidence. I'll say, Akshat, you know what? You can do the same for HDFC Life also, because I know if I go to my HDFC bank branch and ask for a HDFC life insurance, they can probably sell me that, or they can connect me with some agent who can do that for me. Yes, but the problem is that a large customer segment in India do not know that. They go to a bank where I can deposit money and withdraw money. That's it. They will not even go and inquire about all these products. And if the bank manager pushes them that, you know what, sir, we have this new product. Will you like to buy insurance from me? Then a lot of people will say that, you know what, you're not an insurance company. Why are you trying to sell me all this? Then it becomes a problem. So that's just one advantage for LIC in terms of owning their own distribution. There are a host of other challenges, right from coordination related issues and bunch of different factors. If I start outlining it, it will take 2 hours. So I will leave that exercise to you. So I will let you figure out what is the advantage of owning your own distribution in the healthcare space. With that said, let's move on to point number 3, or the third specific moat of LIC. The third specific advantage or moat of LIC is that it has excellent financials in a growing industry. This is the most important part. 2 things. 1, the company already is on very healthy, positive balance sheet. Second, there are massive growth opportunities in the insurance space. So it is like the rise of Paytm. Now, why did Paytm grow so fast? Type the answer below. That scheme rolled out at the middle of the night. What was that scheme called as? You can let me know. But again, coming back to LIC's story, what is the moat of LIC? The moat of LIC is fairly simple. Really good balance sheet. Let me show you some numbers. So here are some numbers for you. And you can see that in 2019, it has revenues of $74 billion and it has net income of 360 million. So yeah, these are crazy numbers. And now why is this the case? Because see, here is the magic. It has got to do with industry margins. When it comes to government, one of the biggest complaints that we have with PSUs is that they sell products where either the profit margins are not that high or the government does not care too much about the business. That is true for almost 95% of government-owned operated businesses. But life insurance is one such business where the product itself is a very high margin product. So if you get volumes in terms of people buying more and more insurance, your profit margins are going to skyrocket. Now, why is this the case? Think about it this way, that people who are concerned about their health are the ones buying health insurance, life insurance also. So the chances, I'm not speaking about guarantees, I'm speaking about chances that they will take care of their health. They will eat healthy or healthier. They will exercise, do good things because they already are very conscious about things. People who do not bother about all this are not even buying insurance in the first place. So they do not even lead to any loss for these companies. So that general equation plays out well in the insurance sector. So therefore, companies like LIC are so massively profitable from that particular perspective. Now, let me also show you some numbers around this. So if you check this particular paragraph, you will see that in the year 2019-20, there was 12.41%. For such a large enterprise, 12.5% growth, it's very, very good. Now comes the final section, which is around speculation as to should you be investing, should you not be investing, what about valuations, will it be priced high, will it be priced low? Okay, so let's have a very brief discussion around it. Let's numbers be out, then I'll make a part 2 of this video in case there is enough interest, but I'll explain you the concept. So number 1, let's speak about valuations. So the chances are that the government itself will price the LIC IPO really low. They will not be valuing LIC IPO at a very high price because when it comes to private players who have launched their IPOs recently, they want maximum pricing of the company because their incentives are tied with that. On the flip side, government usually underprices its assets. This happens in government contracts, spectrum issue, talk about anything, government usually underprices. This is not my opinion. This has been backed. And you can check this article. I will read it with you. So this is by EAS Sarma, former secretary to the Indian government, who has asked the Ministry of Finance to put on hold the entire process of disinvestment of LIC and other central public service enterprises. This comes from former secretary to the Indian government. So this is not some random person speaking. According to him, the LIC IPO is likely to be priced low. This is the same viewpoint that even I am also reflecting. So the valuations are likely to be low. So if you get your hands on the IPO, you are likely to make money. Second key thing, that this IPO is going to be oversubscribed. 99.99% this is going to be oversubscribed. So yes, we can try out the lottery, and if you win, nothing like it, you are going to make definite short-term gains, not an issue there. So what about long-term? Are there any issues in terms of buying and bidding this IPO? And if I get allotment, should I hold it? Should I keep it forever? I don't know. I cannot guarantee this to you, but see, here are the long-term challenges for a company like LIC. Majority of their distribution happens through physical channels, that you have an agent who comes and sells you a policy, which is great, which is the massive moat of the company. But as private players gain more ground, they are usually more effective, and the sales distribution channel is moving online. People are preferring to buy insurance online, and with the ease with which UI, UX systems and processes are being designed, it is not that complicated to buy insurance online. Even in rural areas, you will soon have people who will be selling insurances through cyber cafe. That day is not far off. Probably it might already be happening. So the point that I'm trying to drive home is fairly simple, that going forward, the sales and distribution in this industry is going to go online. I'm not sure to what extent LIC is going to win that game. If I have to put my bet, I would rather put my bet on private players when it comes to winning this online game compared to LIC. But yes, in summary, in the short term, that LIC might be a great stock to hold, but long term, we will have to revisit the business and do more analysis. This is not a stock buying, selling recommendation, IPO bidding, this, that. I'm definitely going to bid, but I have a short-term horizon on this IPO. So thank you so much for watching. Please give it a thumbs up and also check out the links in the description box for a very special offer from Kuku FM. Thank you so much, and I will see you tomorrow.